Hey guys, Sean Bougie here, surplusfundsriches.net. I'm going to go ahead and open up chat. It will be, messages will be private because we had issues with that before. But if somebody out there could let me know, you can hear and see me okay, that would be great. Use the chat, please. I know that sometimes you'll also see a secondary window or tab where you can ask questions. We'd prefer that you use chat, please, for all questions. That'll help us move this along. And let's see what we got here. Christopher says he can hear me just fine. Guys, I'm going to set this down for just a second. Those of you guys have been around for a while know this is what we do. I'm going to shut it down for just a second. And guys, don't request to speak. Use chat, please. That'd be great. Hey, Sean, I see and hear you. Hey, Timothy, Christopher, I see you too. Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to set this off for just 1 second. I'm going to disable chat. It will be back. There is also a file sharing going on right now. You can download that file that you see. You may have to close your chat in order to see that. Usually you do not. But the file sharing, that is our insider's guide for those of you guys here that are new and don't know, haven't been here before. We really appreciate you stopping by, but there's always that information on there. That's going to have information on pricing, links, a lot of information on the different programs that we have available. Excuse me. You can still always go to the website. Link is inside that file. You can still always go to the website, surplusfundsriches.net. You can also click, and if someone will remind me later, I'll share my phone number near the end of this. So if there's any pre-purchase questions after you've read the Insider's Guide, I'm available 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So let's take a look here. All right, not a bad showing here. I'm going to go ahead and just give you guys a quick overview for those of you that are new. So if you're here regarding surplus funds, we've been doing this about 15 years, give or take. Depends on how you want to count that. Teaching people or actually doing it, that type of thing. But surplus funds, we've been doing this for about 15 years, and we do things a little bit differently. Instead of using an assignment to ourselves or a power of attorney to ourselves, which only works in certain states, what we do instead is we hire attorneys in every instance, even if it's just a matter of filling out paperwork for us, every instance. And that accomplishes a couple things. The main one is we get it out in the claimant's name, or the attorney does, and then they use their trust account, to break out that check. That way it's very clean and legal. The other part of it is we use a structured buyout. Now, what that accomplishes is I give them 10%, the claimant, 10% of the gross amount being held up front as a good faith after I've double checked title. Usually it's within a week or two after they sign our documents. And then I give them the rest of whatever we agreed to when we successfully get the money out of the court. So I'm giving money, 10% of the gross amount being held up front as good faith. Of course, these folks have been foreclosed upon. And as you can imagine, that's a big deal, and that makes us very competitive in the market out there. So wanted to give you guys that heads up. We have two different overage programs for those of you guys that are on the fence. Obviously, the bigger bundle that you get, the better deal you're going to get. If you can afford to get the biggest bundle you can, that's the easy answer to what you should buy, because it gives you other options and other programs to use. On the surplus side, we have the National Surplus. That program teaches you how to do it on your own, or you have the option of turning in the file to us. And by that, I mean, you go get a list. We teach you how. It's not hard. You research the debt and ownership as it stood at the day of the sale to make sure there wasn't additional debt that might have a priority claim. Send that into us on our worksheet with supporting documents, copy the deeds, that type of thing. And we take it from there. We find the people, put the deal together, hire the mobile notary and the attorney, and we pay you 8% of the gross when we successfully get the money out of the court. Quick little shout out. Just found out today, another Maryland retrieval, $77,000. The judge actually signed off on that one. We should see that money in about 2 to 3 weeks because, of course, the court has to cut the check, but that's just a heads up. That's just the newest one that we got granted this week. So doing very, very well with that. The other overage, I'm jumping around, apologize. The other overage program is a Premier 16, where we pay you 16% of the gross if you want to be a researcher for us or partner. With that one, besides researching the debt, you have to find the people and have a warm conversation to make sure they're willing to speak with us. You got the right guy. You send it in, we do the rest. We find him, put the deal together. I'm sorry, you find them and make sure they want to speak with us. We put the deal together. We do all the negotiation. We hire the mobile notary and the attorney, and we pay 16% of the gross when we successfully get the money out of court. Pretty straightforward, right? Again, one of the things I want to warn you about, if you go to the site, for you new guys, if you go to the site, it always says on there, there's a limited time on all these offers. We reserve the right to go up. We're like everybody else. My staff is costing me more money. Mailings are set to go up again. Everything is costing more money. Vistaprint's costing us more money to send the stuff out. Calls are costing us more money. And what we charge on our programs is enough to defray the cost of starting somebody up so that we have enough, in course, in case they want to partner with us, obviously, right? So if our cost to partner are going up, that's probably not far off. I just want to give everybody a heads up on that. Take advantage of the deals while you can. All right, let's go to chat. Guys, it's going to be wide open. Keep in mind, it's okay to ask questions about flips as well. Obviously, we do that too. I'm about to put a video out on this. I'm sorry, let me enable chat. I'm about to put a video out on this, but if you guys would see the number of properties we bought and sold over the years, it's crazy how many successful real estate deals we've done. And we actually partner with folks on flipping property with the deed flip program too. So let's take a look at chat. Any and all questions, guys, bring them on. This is run by you. Quick little blurb too, for those of you guys that missed it on the time flipping program, we do have the replay available on the resources page attached from that ebook. That was up for a solid month, telling people when that was going to happen, that webinar. Wonderful questions. Everything went extremely well. We appreciate the turnout, and the replay is there too. So it's nice that when you listen to other people's questions, because people ask questions you didn't think of. That's the whole point of having a community. That's the whole point of having webinars. Timothy says hi. That's great. Guys, any and all questions. There are no stupid questions. I know there's a lot of new guys in here. Tom, what's the difference between the surplus and the 50/50? Okay, so on the 16, Premier 16 and 50/50. I actually did a rundown on that. The surplus 50/50 program we launched January 1st. It was a one-day give back program. It's only available in the Diamond Bundle. You do make a slightly higher commission, not slightly, a good bit more commission using the 50/50 than the 16. It's a little bit different as far as the turn in and the way that we handle those files, but it was a give back program. So it was available for one day, and then we just threw it in the Diamond. We're going to start doing that with a lot of our programs. So whenever we have a special, we have a new program that we launch with a new method, you guys are going to want to jump on that, because I'm not sure that we're going to offer them all the time. The surplus 50/50 is a great example of that. Regarding overages, can you go over more about the phone conversation we have when calling the people? So Mike, I'm going to ask for some clarity from you, because Timothy's asked me a question here too. Mike, you mean when you're using the Premier 16 program as a partner or by yourself? Because it's two different scripts, obviously, two different methods for contacting people and dealing with them. And by the way, those of you guys haven't liked the YouTube channel, go do it. MR Deed Flip, I think, is the name. You can also look up Surplus Funds Riches, one word, on YouTube. That channel, I just launched a video today talking about dealing with clients in disbelief and how important the script is. So Timothy, for these programs, do we find the overages, do the research, and then contact you to partner, or do we get the ones from you that you want us to research? No, Timothy, it's really easy to get lists. We teach you how to get lists. You get a list, you research the debt, and we have a submission system. Another thing is very important for you to know. So you get an initial PDF, a step-by-step ebook, right? That is a link with a password to a resources page. There's a lot of video training on it. Also, the submission information is on there. Obviously, this stuff is password protected, but the submission information is on there as well, besides the training videos, the independent contractor agreement that you sign online, and you submit files to us after you, depending on what it is, national surplus funds, you research the debt and the ownership, fill out the worksheet, include documents, email them to us using that submission system, and then we get back to you on that. Excuse me. We either accept it, in which case you'll show up on the active files list, excuse me, God, which you have access to, the active files list. So you can see that it showed up, or we'll let you know if you have to make a change to that. If there was an issue with the submission, we expect that first couple of submissions, people are going to make mistakes. You can fix it and return it in. As far as the Premier 16, you do call the people and just make sure you got the right guy and that they're willing to speak with us. Obviously, we have a script built in for that. Let's see. I got a bundle about a year ago and have turned in several files. Is the deed flip a good transition after you have a good grasp of overages? Kenneth. Yeah, let me tell you guys, this is a great question. And Mike, I'll answer your question in a second here. Sorry, buddy. This is a really good question. So one of the things I always tell people is, look, there is a benefit to having the deed flip, which is our flipping program, and the surplus program. And the reason is this. Let's say you turn in a file, because we partner with both. Let's say you turn in a file as a deed flip. And we take that file and we call and mail and call and mail. And either we don't get a hold of them or we do get a hold of them, but it's last minute. It doesn't quite work out, or they can't take our offer, or what usually happens if they don't want to take our offer is they think that the last minute they're going to hit the scratch off at the convenience store, and they don't. Meanwhile, what's happened during all that? We've eliminated the wrong addresses and the wrong phone numbers and probably had a conversation with them. You've already researched the debt. So now you can turn around very quickly and turn that in as a surplus funds file to us, probably before anybody else. And there's even a higher chance of conversion. It's giving you 2 shots at the same deal, kind of, right? It's giving a shot pre-sale and give it a shot in the surplus arena. That's a big deal. All right. Premier 16, Mike, and your question was, can you go over more about the phone conversation? It's in the ebook, Mike. The script is right in there. Basically, what you're saying, you identifying the person, make sure you got the right person. And this is going to blow some people's minds out there, I know. We do full disclosure. We tell them where the money is and how it's created. Okay, it doesn't matter, because when they know that we're using an attorney and we're going to give them an upfront, structured buyout, an upfront money up front. We're going to front the money up front, I should say, and give them a structured buyout. They're going to work with us. So you do actually have the ability to tell them the 10%. You're affiliated with us. You're not an employee. You're not a member of our company. But it's a really easy, nice handoff script that we've never had an issue with on the Premier 16. Shay, if I use Realty Tracker Auction.com for deed flip 16, there is no deed flip 16. You mean deed flip 30. You either mean deed flip 30, Shay, or you mean surplus Premier 16. Premier 16 is the overage program, right? So you wouldn't be using Auction.com or Realty Track. If you're talking about the deed flipping programs we have, which is National Deed Flip and Deed Flip 30, the 30%er, you're asking, listen, get the list from the county. Your best shot's going to be going after tax deed sales right now, because the market's so hot that we want the junk. We want you guys to dumpster dive, give us stuff that's just trash. And there's a better chance of that in that arena, in the tax deed sale arena versus the mortgage sale arena right now. So if you're using a flipping program, I would work upcoming tax deed sales, not tax lien, not tax certificate sales, tax deed sales, tax sales. And I would get the list off the county. It doesn't matter where you're at. Had a recent conversation today. There's only 2 cities that I will not take deals in on the flipping, and that's going to be Philadelphia and Memphis, Tennessee. Timothy, do I have to purchase the National Surplus Funds 16 to be able to do that extra step of calling the person, or can we do that if we have? No, it's a separate program, Timothy. There's a separate submission system with that, and it is a separate program and different information. So you've got to, I'm sorry, you got to have both to work if you want to work both. And guys, the reason people get both, this is another reason why people get bundles. Okay, the reason people get both, besides the fact that you've got the opportunity to move yourself, you got a stepping stone now, right? From just researching debt to then trying to call people. People use it to game the system. They're going to turn it in if they can reach the people real easy and have a conversation. They'll turn it as a Premier 16. If they can't reach them, they're going to turn it in. If they've got, instead, they're going to wait and they're going to turn it as a national surplus funds program and let it be our problem to reach them. And we get a lot of that, and that's okay. Okay, it's not okay to start at the 16 and then turn it in the other. But we've had people that have tried, or what they do, in fact, is they'll try the 16, not turn it in. Okay, just try to get them as on the 16 side of it, and if they can't find them, turn it in as an 8%er. This is something, Arche, I'm not avoiding you. Arce Lopez. What percentage, sorry, I used your last name. I try not to do that. What percentage of submitted surplus funds files are you able to make deals with the claimants and collect the money? We avoid this question like the plague, and it is not because we're trying to hide anything. We have a very high conversion rate for the industry. However, The second I give you a percentage, again, I'm not trying to avoid your question. The second I give you a percentage, you're going to turn in a ton of files and not get any. And the guy, some other researcher is going to turn in, Jeff can confirm this with me. I think the best I've ever seen was, good Lord. And it was a fluke, 3 out of 5. That was crazy. But it varies depending on a lot of things, the age of the list, the state that it's in, a lot of things. If you took the time to also just do a quick check before you research the debt, this is a great little nugget for you guys, right? You see the names on the list, put the name in, especially if it's just one person on the list, put the name in, city, state, obit, O-B-I-T, right? See if there's an obituary, because we're probably not going to be able to work it if they've died since the foreclosure, right? So that's important to understand, that there's way too many variables. Some states have much higher death rates with homeowners. Some states have a lot more transition, and it's a little harder to find the people afterwards. So I swear to you, I'm not trying to avoid your question. I'm not gonna get nailed down on that, because it's gonna be crazy. It'll always be wrong. It's always too high or too low, depending on who you speak with, right? So, Lou, I keep forgetting to ask you. I had signed up for the Premier 16 last year in February, then signed up for the 50/50, and now the time flip. I signed the original independent contractor agreement. Yeah, do I have to sign and send back? No, because the independent contractor agreement, Jeff, he's monitoring this right now, right? But anyway, I think that is wide open, basically saying the terms and conditions in your ebook are followed as an independent contractor. And it's very easy, so it applies to all programs you're using with us. That's my understanding. That's what I remember. Lou, I finally freed up my time and have a mountain of mortgage foreclosures to send in. That's great. Just take your time, Lou, on researching that debt. Remember, and this is something I want to say to all of you guys, okay? I know it's an exciting business. I've been in it for a long time, okay? The money's great. It's just a really exciting opportunity, right? Take your time. A lot of you guys are new, and you're in a rush. Take your time, right? Get the first couple down, turned in, and accept it. Take your time. It's a new skill set. It's not hard, but it's a new skill set. So it's going to take a little while for it to set in. Take your time. You're not in a rush. There's no bonuses for speed. Okay. Erica. Yep. Jeff agrees. Independent contractor wants. Erica, I have come across an overage for a property that is a part of a trust. The owner passed before the foreclosure. I found a will. Have only one heir. Would it be better to contact trustee or the heir? The property was in a trust, Erica. Sorry, that sounded like I was being mean, right? The property was in a trust. If it was in a trust, you must deal with the trustee. Heirship doesn't matter. It wasn't owned by the person that was deceased. It is owned by that trust. That is a wonderful question. That's a great question, Erica. If it was in a trust, it's no longer owned by an individual. That's the whole point of putting a property in a trust. A lot of people do that because they want to avoid losing the property if they're using, I believe it's either Medicaid or Medicare, and down the road, they want to get that. The fine print with I can't remember which one it is if you use a lot of the health benefits from that, they can actually get property later. So a lot of people put stuff into a trust. You see a lot in Florida too. Any state with older population. Great question. The trustee is the person to go after because the will doesn't matter. The will should not have even been able to will the property to anybody because the trust holds the property. Jeff, you only have to fill out. Yep. So I see all your requests. Do you need all those things, even though I'm only doing tax surpluses? I don't. Saul, I'm going to need you to be a little more specific for me, man. RSA, do certain states take longer than others to pay out? What are some of the quickest, slowest? So I'm going to give you a quick answer, and I'm going to direct you again to our YouTube channel. I actually put on there what states to avoid or what are difficult states. Great video for you to watch. There is also some information in the Surplus Funds ebooks, but I have found that as far as taking longer, California, obviously, because California, most counties only hold a tax deed sale once a year. And as a result, and I'm sorry, they have to wait a full year from that tax sale in order to honor any request for the disbursement of surplus funds. So you're in limbo from that date for a year until they'll actually review the surplus funds retrieval. So that makes it a little more difficult. California actually charges a lot of the counties to review the Register of Deeds or Land Records Department to check debt. Most counties do not. In fact, sorry, I have an issue with this chair. Most counties do not, in fact, charge, but California is one that does. Florida is a relatively easy state to work. However, that's only available in one of our bundles, the Florida Surplus Bundle. The reason for that is because the statutes are so incredibly different down there. So I want to make sure that I covered this. Oh, taking longer to pay out, quickest, slowest. Honestly, I know the number from when it's turned into us. If you're a partner, it's generally going to take about a month for us to get in touch with people. In other words, they're going to return a call or a mailing, and that's with us pounding them constantly to get in touch with us and agree to have a mobile notary get out and get the contract back. Boom, that's 1 month done. Once we get the contract, it goes immediately to the attorney. Okay. As soon as it goes to the attorney double checks title work and also gets on the docket. So we got a month out to get on the docket. Okay. If it's a situation where they have to be in front of somebody. Once they get on the docket and they get in front of the person, it's granted. Now it's a month generally for the checks to be cashed. So it's typically a 3-month total period from start to end from when you turn in a file to us. Oh, that's cool, Timothy. Do you have a recommendation of the best states to work in for tax liens? Okay, again, guys, I want to make sure everybody understands something with tax liens. We're not working tax liens. We're tax deeds. We're going after property going into tax deed sale, not tax lien sale. Probably where they're actually going to sell the house, not the debt, not the lien. Okay, and it's the same thing with surplus. The property has to have sold at an auction, not the debt sold in a tax lien or tax lien certificate sale. So it's very important. I need to be very clear and specific in the terminology I use with that. So going back to, I'm going to say your name's Arche Lopez. Again, there's not a huge difference between states on payouts. Some are a little bit slower, and we'll give you a heads up if you start turning stuff in where it's been typically a little bit of a slower state. Last year, I would have had a completely different answer for you simply because COVID did a number on the courts. And that's kind of over now. One of the good things that came from that, for those of you guys that have Florida, is our attorney down there can now, he's wonderful. He can now do everything online. They actually okayed doing these motions online. And of course, that even makes everything faster for the retrieval. So that's fantastic. Oh, but you know what? You did ask me a recommendation of best states to work in for tax liens. If you're going to buy tax liens, which we don't do with you, but we have a tax lien profit machine program in there. I would do your research on that because it changes from month to month. I don't think buying tax debt is anywhere near as profitable as it was because it's become very institutionalized. So I'm thinking that's not what you mean. When or if we're ready to work on our own, does your program teach us how to use an attorney, just as your company? Tiffany, it teaches you that from the get-go. The program teaches you how to partner with us and how to do it completely on your own. Arce, thank you for answering. It is pronounced Arce. Thank you for the clarity. My last name, believe me, B-U-I-G. Nobody gets that right. When or if we're ready to work on our own, does your program? Yes, and Tiffany, by the way, yeah, we teach you how to find and speak to attorneys. When you're doing it on your own. We still provide support when you're doing it on your own. And there is, just because I've gotten this question a lot lately, there is no non-compete. You know, if you decide you want to do it on your own, great. The vast majority of people in this industry do this as a side hustle, either on their own or as a partner with us. We're getting more and more people partnering with us because they realize they can make as much, if not more, given some of the state statutes that restrict payouts to finders out there. They can make as much or more working with us. And do have to work or even less. Of course, because we use a structured buyout, we don't fall under the finder laws. They don't pertain to us. So that's why we can still make enough where we can pay out what you need, what we need, the attorney and everything else. I should have been more clear. Sorry, I meant tax lien sales over there. No, Tiffany, Timothy, I got to straighten you out. There are no tax lien sales overages. There are tax deed sale overages. Tax liens is debt. In order for and I'm not making fun of you or chastising you. In order for there to be surplus funds, the property has to sell at an auction. A tax lien sale, tax deed sale. You're going after where they actually sell the property, just to be very clear. Awesome, says Tiffany. You're very welcome, Tiffany. Any questions, guys? Bring them on. Got it, says Timothy. Thank you. Sorry, man. And again, Timothy, wasn't trying to if I had my New York friend here, it would have been bust you or something. But I'm not trying to be a turkey to you or chastise you. Just I need to be very clear on that, because people have actually said, hey, I'm trying to research this tax lien sale that I saw, and I don't see a transfer of property. Well, because there was no transfer of property. A tax lien sale is where the county sells the debt. They're behind on their budget. Somebody hasn't paid their taxes for a couple of years, right? They sell that tax lien, that debt, okay, to an investor and give them a return. In return, now they wait another year or two till they're going to have the tax deed sale, or however long it is, till they have the tax deed sale, and they'll give that investor 10% return during that year or two, and they're putting off having the tax deed sale at that point. They're putting off selling the property. By the way, guys, counties are not doing anybody a favor by waiting an extended period of time to foreclose on them. All they're doing is allowing people to get deeper and deeper in the hole. There's no way they're going to pay off that tax bill when they're 5-10 years behind. Like North Carolina, you can get 10 years behind in North Carolina, easy. The smartest guys out there as far as taxes is probably Florida. Most counties foreclose literally in 2 or 3 years. If they haven't paid their taxes, they're rough. I like you to correct me. There's a lot I don't know. Hey, no problem, Timothy. A lot of this is verbiage. So let me make a point. One of the reasons, and one of the things that we run, and thank you, Timothy, I'm sorry. I also have a Tiffany asking me questions right now. One of the things that we push a lot is, yes, we do have video training associated with our program. However, you've got to read the ebook. It's a step-by-step. It's written. You got to read it at least twice. And one of the reasons, Timothy, that we say that to people, it's extremely important that we have specificity, right? Specific language and terminology. Because, for instance, if you do want to use support, and we encourage that after you buy the ebook, if you do want to use support, it's going to go a whole lot easier and better if you say, hey, I've got a question about a quick claim deed I saw on this thing, instead of, hey, I've got an issue with the deed thingy. Just having the terminology down is going to be very important to me, as we found out here. So just having the terminology down is going to be very important. And that's why we recommend people read the ebook twice for comprehension and to get the terminology down, because that's going to grease the wheel. That's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to ask support questions and get answers, because we're talking the same language. We're not going to throw out things like ROI and cap rate and all that stuff when we're doing deed flips with you, because you don't need to know that. And that has nothing to do with flipping property using our deed flip program. We're not going to talk to you about certain, we're not going to throw legalese at you with the surplus funds either. That's something we deal with attorneys. I'm still reading the ebook, Amani. Fantastic. Take your time, Amani. Read it. Again, nobody's in a race. Take your time. Get it down. It's a new skill set. Don't feel like you have to do this quickly. One of the things I get questioned on a lot is, hey, what about saturation? Haven't seen that as an issue. I don't think we're ever going to see it. 3,200 counties. It's just not going to happen. And these days it's happening like clockwork, where they're really starting to foreclose on people. I want to give some of you guys a heads up. Surplus funds are great right now because the bidding is so high. Both tax and mortgage overages are extremely high. They've jumped up way higher. They're over $40,000, $45,000 now instead of $25,000 just a few years ago, because it's such a hot market, right? So that's a big deal. Flipping has also become huge. Now it's competitive, but the deal with flipping right now is you really want to go after the dumpster dive properties, the junk, the stuff that's falling apart, because we can get that for next to nothing from the owner and still make $30,000, $40,000 flipping it. We don't go after raw land, but we do go after single family or even, I think we go to duplex or triplex, whatever. We'll go after the property as long as it's low enough, because it's got hookups. If it actually has a property on it, it has gas, electric, water, sewer. So it's a whole lot easier for us to flip that, and we can flip it faster because we don't have to wait for approvals on gas, electric, water, sewer. Timothy, first time I get a check, I'm going to invest it in the diamond package. Good for you. That's a great way to go, guys. We've seen people do that a lot just because the price per program on that is so low when you break it out. Look, I'm not going to say that if you guys want to, if you guys want to go ahead and just start out at the starter book at $497, that's great. Just understand that if you want to go add on later, it's going to be full price for whatever else you add on. John, does IDI data require a yearly contract with a minimal monthly payment, or do they also offer pay-as-you-go options? John, I think they used to offer a pay-as-you-go, but they may have gotten rid of that. Same thing with Microbial. I think you're going to have to kind of make a guesstimate on how many you want to search if you're going to use IDI as your skip tracing, IDI data, or if you're going to use Microbial. Either one, I think you're going to have to give them an estimate. I don't think they're doing a per pull deal anymore. Another one, this is secondary, not a main. If you guys are going to be doing your own skip tracing using the Premier 16 or DFlip 30, you don't have to have it if you use National Surplus or National DFlip. You don't have to have it. But if you're using one of those other programs, or if you're doing it on your own, obviously you're going to need a good skip tracing program. IDI data is great. Microbial.com is great. Let me mention this really quickly. You'll be able to see this on the replay too. Microbial, Microbilt, no U, microbial.com. If you call them, they're really good too for the skip tracing, particularly in finding possible relatives and associates, which is a big part of this. If you call them and talk to Randy Mostetler, he will waive your startup fee for any skip tracing if you want to use our program that requires that. National Surplus doesn't require that you skip trace. Surplus funds, National DFlip does not require that you skip trace. You don't need it. I'm just telling you, if you do, that's a way to go. Believe it or not, with the DFlip, whitepages.com is actually a great resource too. Their reverse lookup, it's about $25 a month. The reverse lookup by street address is phenomenal for the flipping arena. This is so exciting, but I know I need to go slow enough to learn how to do it. That's right, Timothy, just take your time. And listen, guys, let me make a point, because I know it probably sounded like I was chastising earlier. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to understand it at first. That's why we have support. It's email-based with Jeff. He handles all post-purchase support questions. He also underwrites the files when they're turned in. Now, imagine how important that is, right? Because he's looking at what you turn in. He's also handling your questions before you turn in. And please use support before you turn in. Don't just spitball it and throw it against the wall and see what's going to work. If you got a question to ask, and Jeff will help you walk you through that. As long as you've read the ebook, please read it twice. The reason is, if it's one of those questions that's kind of silly, and I got one of those earlier today, I'm not going to bring it up, but I got kind of a silly question. The guy called me and I said, hey, you're supposed to use for Jeff. And I was like, plus, I got to tell you something. It's like right in the ebook, man. Yeah, you didn't read it. You got to read it and take your time to read it. But take your time. You're learning something new. We're here for you. We're not going to give you a hard time for trying, Can we get by with only using IDI data, or is it best to pair with Microbial? John, Microbial for us is kind of a secondary source. I got to be honest with you. IDI data, if you work with them, is going to be phenomenal at finding the claimant. Okay. I like Microbial for a different reason. Sometimes people are really hard to find. Okay. And in that instance, having Microbial helps, because Microbial is not as good as IDI data at finding the person that you're going after. Where Microbial excels is finding possible relatives and associates. There is something going on with their algorithms that is unbelievable. And we're not just mailing to possible owners or claimants. We're mailing to their possible relatives and associates. We still put on the mailing to the person we're trying to reach and send the regular mailing out, and it just goes to a relative. The reason we do that is there's usually an Aunt May that says, hey, got your mailing. This isn't John's address. And we go, great. Can you give it to us? Can you give us a phone number? Sure. They want to be in everybody's business. I'm not kidding you. That happens like crazy. It costs us a whole lot more money to do it that way, but we get a hold of a lot. We get a hold of a lot more people that way too. When will the next Inner Circle webinar be, and where do you post those dates? Thanks. Hey, Cliff, I think you asked this last webinar. We kind of backed off on it because we were getting nobody showing up. If I got a bunch of people that got the Elite Inner Circle, because really right now it's kind of a static page. All I'm thinking about doing is dropping video, like limited video on that page that I don't share with anybody else, and that's it. I don't think we're gonna have a live webinar again, simply because we didn't get the turnout we needed on the Elite Inner Circle, or people weren't asking the questions. You know, they really weren't asking questions. We prefer this. Just because when you have this many people in here and you have the community like we have right now, there's always going to be a question that nobody else thought of. While I'm waiting for the next question, guys, keep them coming, because I'm only going to wait here if you ask questions, right? While I'm waiting for that, one of the questions we got in the past, we were talking about something with the surplus funds retrieval. And one of the questions we got from somebody was, hey, that was great what you just shared. I could have used it on the last case that I was working, but they're in jail. And we went, what difference does that make? So what? How many times have you heard somebody authoring a book, writing a book, and getting paid while they're in jail? People are allowed to make money while they're in jail, okay? Unless there's restitution to be paid, which in that case has to be paid first. But most of the time there's not restitution, and there's a notary in the jail. Plus, most people, when they go to jail, they give a power of attorney to a family member who has complete financial power of attorney and can sign as the power of attorney for their documents, anything money-based, right? Or including surplus funds in most cases. So I would say that what happened with that webinar was unreal, because the comments exploded. Everybody said, oh my God, I had 3 files I threw away because people are in jail. Oh my goodness, the people in jail, I threw them away, you know, all this crazy stuff. Now listen, if you're going to send stuff into us as a researcher, you're going to need to know who the person is that has the power of attorney for the individual, because we're probably not going to be able to meet them in a jail. You're going to have to do a little more research on that. Not meet them, but call them at the jail. Yes, you can get the phone number. Calling that's a nightmare. I know the literature says your average total amount of the overage that you make deals on. Would your company prefer we target overages that are equal to that amount, or is it worth targeting overages over 30 grand? Actually, Timothy, it's worth going after 15,000 and up, and that's our minimum overage we'll go after. These are great questions you're asking me, by the way. 15 grand is the minimum overage we will go after in most states. It's a little lower in Florida. There's a couple of reasons for that I'm not going to get into, but 15 grand is the minimum we'll go after. We still have an average of 45 grand with 15 as our minimum. The reason for that is a lot of people just made the assumption you did. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to go after 30 and higher. I'm going to go after 40 and higher. I'm going to go after 50 and higher. So look, I got my next one coming in that I think is going to be coming in about 2-3 weeks. We got a lot of stuff that's backed up right now, waiting to be released, because we threw a lot at the attorneys all at once. The next one I think coming in that's large is $77,000. However, we do a lot of the 40, 70, 100. We have a $145,000 deal out there right now. We do a lot of those, but we do a lot of the 15, 20, 25 too. Guys, I've said this before. Taxi drivers will tell you it's the meter drop. You've got to work what's in front of you. If taxi drivers, I know it's now Lyft and Uber. I get it. Okay, I'm not that old. But taxi drivers used to say everything's about the meter drop. You don't just stand at the airport and wait and hope to get that $50, $60 cab fare. Otherwise, that's all you're going to make for the night. If you can still go by the airport, rush hour, whatever's a good time, as far as the airport, what's a high time for them. However, the guy that's making every single deal he can make, every single run he can make, he's going to make more money than the guy, even after all his expenses running around. He's going to make more money than the guy that's waiting on the home run. Do not, and this really applies, listen to me, guys, this really applies in flipping property. Do not try to make home runs. Don't. Singles, doubles, triples, man, they add up to a win. That's the deal. The teams that win don't just hammer out home runs, okay? They fill up that base, and they bring the people around, and they keep their pipeline full, and they keep rocking it. Nice. So, yes, Kenneth, in Texas, there's a higher minimum for the overages that will work in there. We are working on that, Kenneth. The reason there's a higher minimum for Texas is our attorney is extremely expensive there. We're working on finding, if anybody knows a great, already worked with an attorney, okay, in Texas that does this, we'd be happy to have a conversation with him. The guy that we've got right now is extremely good, but he's extremely expensive. So we had to jack the minimum we take in Texas. Keep in mind, guys, we work 46 states. If you want to partner with us, we'll work every state except for Oregon, Washington State, and Colorado, and Florida is it's a part of our bundle. It's a separate deal. because the statutes are so different. Having said that, work everything you can and do not work your own state, please. Don't do that. I get that all the time. All the time. Oh man, I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm gonna work Pennsylvania. Why? Why? Are you kidding me? There's 46 states we work. Other than, 47 really counting Florida. There's 47 states why, if you have the Florida program, you can work it. Why are you limiting yourself to your home state? That's silly. And I'm being kind with my choice of words right there. That is silly. Work wherever you can get a list and work it. Crank it out. Okay. Also, guys, one of the things that was asked, good and bad states and all that kind of thing. Some states it's difficult. Remember, we work both mortgage and tax overages. Some states it's a little more difficult to get a mortgage overage list. You're probably not going to be able to get one. Texas and California come to mind because those states allow the foreclosing attorney to actually disperse the surplus, to hold it and disperse it before. And if they can't find the people sending it to the state, those attorneys are not going to give you a mortgage overage list. You can still work tax overages in those states, but some states don't have. You're not going to be able to get the mortgage overage list, meaning I know Texas and California for sure. Probably, I believe Georgia's similar as well. Hard to get mortgage overage lists. Do you have lists of attorneys in the various states? So if we get something going in a state, should we ask your company for referral to an attorney in that state? Awesome. Timothy, you are like asking me all the great questions. So here's the deal. We used to refer out all of our attorneys in any state we work. No problem. We got feedback from them that guys were not actually researching debt. So they were wasting the attorney's time. So here's how we work it now. If you've worked with us, first of all, we teach you how to find and talk to attorneys and hire them. No problem on your own. However, if you've worked with us for a long period of time, not a long period of time, you've worked with us, we put a couple of deals together for you and paid you out. Hey, I'm going to start going on my own. I'm going to work that same state. I will happily refer an attorney to you in that state. Happily. No issues whatsoever. But if you're coming out of the chute, the attorneys have literally, I've gotten that request for do not send me people unless you know that you're doing the work and they're doing it right. Linda, what is the amount to work Texas overages? Higher seems better. Well, I mean, you got to work it all. I just got done speaking. You want to work a broad range. The minimum right now in Texas, this is the only state with this high of a minimum that we will take from our partners is 30 grand. That's the drink of champions, by the way. I need to start getting sponsors for this channel. So I've gotten my lists. What years should I be working on through your program? Okay, so what's in your golf bag, Kenneth? I'm going to answer that in a second. Okay, so I've gotten my list. What years should I be working on through your program? Okay, so the importance of looking at lists, you're throwing me a little bit of a curveball here. If it's an older list, but it's updated, that's fine, right? So you got to make sure it's being updated. You got to make sure the money's being held, guys. Make sure that it's an updated list you're working or it's a recent list. Otherwise, you'll have to double check that the money's still being held. So that's the best way for me to answer that right now, Saul, without a follow-up question. Kenneth, what's in your golf bag? Kenneth, that's a question for Jeff. Golfing isn't my thing. I've got other hobbies that are my big thing. I used to golf quite a bit because my father golfed and he lived in a golf community. And that was a thing we did as a father and his son, and I loved it. We'd go out and walk together, and I was horrible at golf. I would come back angry and sore and miserable from the game, but I loved being with my dad. So that's the whole reason I went. Having said that, besides golf clubs, if it was the right day and it was me and my dad to make my dad happy, I might have some Lagavulin 16-year scotch in there, other than golf clubs and golf balls. Makes perfect sense. Do you have lists of attorneys in various states? They getting a cut, Timothy. Oh, my monster. Yeah, exactly. I need to get my sponsors on that. Timothy, some states and cities or counties, man, you've been doing some research, man. I applaud you. I applaud you. Some states or cities or counties have lists with all sorts of extensive info on them, such as Orange County, California comes to mind. If you get a list which has a date and a case number, is everything we need in that case file? No, Timothy, you still have to research the debt. You still have to go into the Register of Deeds or Land Records Department for that county, the Register of Deeds or the Land Records Department, and make sure they didn't have a mortgage or an equity line or anything like that, a lien against the property that's recorded with the Register of Deeds or the Land Records Department. Because if they did, that debt has a priority claim to the overage in front of the owner. So we want to know, I look, if there's 50 grand in overage, but there's $100,000 equity line against the house, we can't go after it, right? And those people are not going to work with you. Banks don't work with you. And just a little bit of clarity for some of you guys out there in the past have argued with us and said, hey, look, the guy had a $50,000 equity line, but it doesn't have any follow-up documentation. It just says it's up to 50 grand. How do we know he used it? Okay, guys, when people go into foreclosure and they're about to lose their house, do you think they're going to tap that equity line and make sure and get every dime of it out of it before they get foreclosed on? Absolutely. Trust me, it's maxed out. It's absolutely maxed out. I'm into it big time. That sounds good. Is this great live webinar going to be available to us so we can watch it later? Hear all your responses. Two things, Timothy. And that brings up another thing I need to bring up. Very important, guys. Very important after I answer this question with Timothy. So you're going to get notice. You should get notice of a replay. If not, our YouTube channel will have it by tomorrow morning. Usually it gets recorded as unlisted, and then I've got to make it live. It'll be on our YouTube channel. I believe our YouTube channel is also linked from our website. God, sorry, man. surplusfundsriches.net. So that's going to be extremely important that you guys go there whenever possible, and also follow us, right? Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, get in with that, okay? Extremely important. Now, here's what I wanted to bring up with you. So I've had people go, man, I missed that other webinar. How come I didn't get notice? We mix it up. We do this because we're having issues with servers. Say, oh my God, you send out this many emails per week or month or whatever. And so we're going to start dinging you. So what we started to do is, this is why we're now asking for emails and phone numbers. And if you haven't signed in and given us your email and your phone number, you need to do that. Go to surplusfundsriches.net. The reason is every other week we mix it up. Upcoming webinar, usually a day in advance, boom, you're going to get an email. Next webinar, you're not going to get the email. You're going to get a text. It's extremely important that you give us, and I get it. Some of you guys, when you first signed in, you're like, oh, I'm not going to give them the right number, 555, 837-5309, whatever the heck, you know what I mean? You're going to do that to us, and I completely get that. However, now that you know we're not going to bite you, now that you know it's good information, if you did not give us the correct information, if you're not sure, don't re-sign in, right? If you're getting texts and emails from us, you're good. But if you really think, oh man, I think I gave a fake number or whatever, go back in and sign in again. Just do it. It's the only way you're going to get the notice every other webinar. And we don't bug the heck out of you either, guys. I'm not putting you into a funnel, like hitting you with these I'm not doing all that stuff. Regarding your tax deed flip programs, thank you, John. Do you accept files for properties with easements, including government easements? That's not going to turn me off, John. As long as I've got a usable property, I don't care if there's an easement on it. I just care that it has some form of a property. Now, I don't take commercial and I don't take raw land. I don't want commercial. Don't want anything to do with it. Okay. Recent tax deed sold multiple lots belonging to the same owner. Went for 12K or better. Some of the smaller parcels for less. Can these be submitted as well for total sum? Recent tax deed sale for multiple lots belonging to same owner. Went for 12K or better. Some of the smaller parcels for less. Can these be submitted as well for a total sum? What you're saying, Eric, is one guy lost a bunch of lots. They were 12 grand, something like that. The total's maybe $60,000. We've seen this before. $60,000. Can we turn it in? I am going to sidestep this and say this one's up to Jeff. completely up to Jeff, because he handles the front line more than me, and he will jump in with an answer here soon, I'm sure. But I am not going to jump on that one. It's a great question, but I think Jeff knows the process on the front line better than I do, so I'm going to wait on him. Tom, I think some programs you deal with judgments. Which ones don't you do that? Actually, Tom, there's a judgment recovery network that's a part of one of the bundles. And we also have a straight up judgment recovery system program that's in some of the couple of, I think the top two bundles, maybe just the top bundle. But as far as if there were judgments in a surplus funds deal, I'm not handling that. We teach you how to do that with the Judgment Recovery Network, and also we have a judgment system you can buy as well. By the way, guys, if you've already bought one of our programs and you're like, man, I wish I had initially picked this up at the add-on price instead of just buying one program. I wish I added on these other two that I was thinking of. You're not going to be able to get it for the add-on price, but if you open your ebook and click the link to the resources page, on that resources page will be a past buyer loyalty discount. So there may be a program on there, for instance, bankruptcy goldmine might be $347 or $397 instead of having to buy a whole bundle to get it. If you've bought before, you can pick up other programs kind of a la carte. It's not going to be the add-on price by any means. That's a super special deal, but it is cheaper. How important do you think it will be for us to have a website if we're going to do this using a business name? Does it make us seem more or less impressive to a person we might call? Great question, Timothy. If you're using our Premier 16 program where you're calling in, or if you're doing it on your own, having a website is a must. It's really easy to do. There's free hosting out there. There are free template sites out there. It's stupid easy to get that set up. You will have to pay for a domain name. That's fairly easy and cheap through GoDaddy. That's the one I trust out of all of them. But I would get up with GoDaddy to buy a domain name once you get rolling. Now, if you're doing national surplus, where you're just researching debt and ownership, you're not calling them, or national deed flip and turning those files into us, no point in having it. Each lot is treated as a separate file and must meet file requirements as far as minimum surplus amount. That's what Jeff says. I'm going to go with Jeff. I always back up Jeff because I trust his judgment more than my own on the front line, frankly. So yeah, sorry, even if there was like $25,000 deals, we're not going to parcel that together. Keep in mind, and something I forgot while I was thinking about that and gave you the opportunity to come back with that, Jeff, not only because I trust your judgment on that, but you know what? We're going to have to pay the attorney for every one of those retrievals separately. And the minimum file roll is based on attorney costs. So that's why where we're at. Erica says, thank you, Timothy. I purchased the business buying program. That would be the Zombie Business Reviver, where we recover property or money left that is due to a dead entity. That's awesome, Timothy. Now, that is an add-on for surplus funds or Premier 16. That's why it's not available on its own on the actual site. So, yes, you can apply that program. Well, you can apply it for deed flipping and surplus funds, the Zombie Business Reviver. That's a way, if a business owned the property and they've since gone out of business, that's a way to kind of breathe new life into that and still be able to claim the overage. It's a really cool trick. The information is on the site as far as all of the stuff. The file handout also goes into it. I'm sorry I'm getting distracted because I'm seeing this question and answer only thing. Guys, I need to say this again. Use chat for questions. Question from buying. When searching debt, should I check on the county fines like tall grass fines, etc.? If municipal liens and that type of thing are actually available, it's great to do that because you're avoiding that being an issue later, Brian. Florida is very easy to check, and I think we actually require check all that. But yes, you should check that if you can. Most counties, you can't check that stuff online. But if you see that, you need to include it so we know what we're working with. Question from Amani. Good question, Timothy. I hadn't considered it. All right, guys. Again, let's avoid the Q&A and let's stay in the chat. If we find that entity and we want to pursue it, do you ever partner with us on large amounts? Timothy, we don't partner on the zombie. We're just flooded right now, and we're trying to stay in our lane and all this stuff. And there's just so much stuff for us to not get torn, pulled to the side. Also, Timothy, the Zombie Business Reviver. What's cool about that is you can pick up literally buy the business and then reactivate it for hundreds of dollars. I no kidding. The only exception to that is when you see like, Eichert pest treatment or whatever, or you know, when you see somewhere it's an individual's name, you're going to have to pay more because, and we've got a good way for you to handle that. But the vast majority of businesses are not like that. It's like A to Z pressure washing or whatever. It's something I just recently saw. And they'll sell it to you for a couple $100 because they want to have a business. They don't care. There he goes. Jeff agrees. It's not a partnership program. I'm going to wrap up questions right now. And I promised you guys that I was going to give you my direct cell line. Do not call me tonight. Call me 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time at 704. Don't do this on holidays, right? 704-791-9398. Please do me a favor. Do the file download that you got in front of you. Download that file, read through it. It's the insider's guide and some more information on products and what's available. Has a link in it directly to the products page. Read that because then you'll have a really good understanding of the programs we have, so that if you do want to call me and have a conversation with me, you'll be able to ask specific questions. It'll be a much more productive deal if you've actually read through at least the basic information on the programs that we have available. Also, if you go to surplusfundsriches.net, for those of you guys that are watching this on a replay, oh good, Jeff just put up the current offers to you. Click directly on that. Guys, if you click on that, it'll take you to the products page. Scroll down to the bottom of the page if you haven't downloaded the download we have available for you, the files that we're sharing with you. If you haven't done that, you can scroll down to the bottom of this page that's on this link. I'm about to stop this, so do it now. Scroll down, and the insider's guide will be at the bottom. You can read through it there. Guys, fantastic webinar. I appreciate everybody coming out. Again, once you've read through that information, if you have any specific questions on any program, please don't hesitate to call me. My name is Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net, 704-791-9398. 704-791-9398. Thanks.